theme, but as I was reflecting on this theme of the refugee, I realized there's a correlate to the refugee theme, which is the colonist theme. So when my ancestors came here in the pre-US days to the colonies, the refugees were the people that already lived here, tribal people on the coast and so on. And then, it sort of comes around. And I also realized the ancestor I know most about was a Scot who fled Scotland in the middle of the 17th century. And when I read about that period, I realized, oh, there were bloody civil wars up and down the British Isles in those years. And a young person like my ancestor may well have just said, I have to get out of here. It's too dangerous. This place is crazy. So, with that framing, this first piece a few years ago, it was a report from the area around Heathrow Airport in London, where a frozen object fell into a suburban backyard next to someone who was sunbathing. And it turned out to be a body of someone who had stowed away in the wheel well of the aircraft. They climbed up in the wheel well and they froze solid. This is called fellow travelers. Blocks of ice that were human bodies falling from landing gear bays of jet airliners, shattering in suburban backyards by people bathing in unseasonal sun on chaise longue. Sodden bodies, a father's arm still wrapped around her, her diapers still snug, washing up on our side of the river, face down, to spare us from seeing our shame. Ice walkers from the days when the oceans froze into sheets draped over the poles as over furniture waiting for the return of the just ruler, crossing the bridge from Siberia to places no two-leggeds had ever come, they say. Our devices now take us everywhere and nowhere that requires fur or sinew or blood. Keep us from leaving this building, from walking out to ask the forest permission to re-enter. Move us further and further away from the beauty and the terror of departure. So that's one piece. This next piece I wrote, well, it's based on something that happened 35 some years ago when my father announced, to the shock of my siblings and I, that he was selling the home that I was born in, and one or two of my other siblings were born in up in New Hampshire. And I had something like a waking dream at that time that was the first kind of visceral personal experience of what a refugee felt like. So this is called In the Direction of Home. When my father informed us that he was selling the New Hampshire house in which I was born, the house in which my mother died in her despair, the house in which my sister Betsy died in her crib, I had a waking dream. I was a Pennacook father sitting by a fire in a hemlock grove, holding my son as he died of the white man's fever, wondering where we would go, for the Huron to the north were enemies, And these people whose fire smoke rose across the lake were not friends. Because that fire will not stop burning, I walked into woods where poplar, sweet gum, red oak, and the softwoods spoke through roots, stumble across a lichen-haired, moss-bearded greenstone outcrop, lay my body down as if on the mortuary slab, allow my spine to fit the rock, feel the belly of the great mother beneath me, holding the ragged edge of my sorrow. So we had refugees. We had refugees right here in North America from day one of white colonist appearance. And let's see, maybe one more. So we have friends that we met in Costa Rica. They were Americans who had moved down there on some whim years ago, and they ran a little resort for a while. And then when the pandemic hit, everything blew up, and they had to come back and live in his father's basement for a while. And they were basically climate refugees in a sense, climate refugees with more money than most, but it was pretty hugely disruptive to their lives. So this is, and then now they live in Lunenburg County, which is down in Southside, Virginia. So I call this Southside Pastoral. I didn't see this story coming in the manes of the four horses in the wind of their new pasture. I didn't see the humans as Costa Rica refugees from Steve's father's racism. Alabama's got me so upset. In our drive across 4 counties, I didn't see the bones of Manacan, Saponi, Ocanichi, of old forests that fed the people mostly gone to single wides, to double wides, to country churches and dollar stores, yards of trucks and tractors for parts. All I saw was the trailer that got them to Southside, where this prime pasture runs under 1,000 an acre, where the 1880 house is sturdy, heart pine floors, beadboard oak ceilings, tacky fixes they will strip away. I didn't see possum roadkill, vulture roadkill, culture roadkill, all the first names paved over. All I see is the land where last month cattle ran, where now the mare and the gelding and the 2 miniatures canter bonanza style across the pasture crest, Tennessee Walker and Appaloosa, names drifting off, manes blowing in the wind. And that's all I got. That's enough refugee for one night.